shooting we first brought you yesterday morning. A man in South LA on Halloween night is the son of a former rap executive and alleged former gang leader.
34-year-old Jabari Henley is the son of Eugene Henley, better known as Big U. Eugene Henley once managed Nipsey Hussle and is alleged to be the former leader of the Rollin' 60s Crips gang. Police say Jabari was shot in Figueroa and 69th Street after he walked up to a vehicle and someone inside opened fire before driving off. Police say his father's gang ties are a major part of the investigation.
Big U's name seems to come up every time. The narrative becomes increasingly bizarre, as if the cosmos is always placing more burdens on him. According to people seeing the event, it appears to be one of those times when life simply won't give someone a break. And now that the most recent version has been released, it's obvious that things have reached a level no one anticipated. When his son was removed while he was still inside, the situation became even more dire. Anyone would be pushed to the brink by that alone. It was also the kind of blow that rocked an entire family for Big U. However, this new twist makes everything feel 10 times heavier than it did before. No parent should ever have to deal with losing a child. However, Big U's grief was compounded by the fact that he was unable to spend time with his son before his passing. It had been a long minute since he had seen him, and now that he's imprisoned, Chance is gone forever. The fact that Baby Huey was the one closest to him is what truly destroys people. That was the son who mimicked Big U's appearance, mannerisms, speech, and every action. Almost like a younger version of him, Baby Huey felt like his second shadow. People weren't lying when they claimed he was Big U's twin. Words cannot adequately describe the impact of losing that son, and nothing on earth can ease the anguish you feel when a loved one passes away. However, seeing a loved one final time is the one thing that can occasionally bring some closure. Being able to say those last words before letting go while standing at the funeral. In order to attend his son's departure ceremony, Big U requested permission from the court to leave with an escort. To be honest, that isn't a particularly strange request. It occurs rather frequently. After paying their respects and being laid to funerals, people are returned to detention while they await judgment. It's not a special treatment or wild exception. It's standard procedure. However, he was surprised by the prosecutor's response to Big U. These prosecutors weren't affected by it. Their tone was icy and unhesitating.
Time leader of the Rollin' 60s Crips gang, Eugene Henley Jr. has become known in recent years for his charity work to reduce gang violence. Now the FBI is accusing him of running a criminal enterprise that committed a series of crimes, including a murder back in 2021. NBC4's Alex Rozier live with details you see for the first time and only on 4. Alex.
Michael, Big U is in federal custody right now. Prosecutors say they have probable cause to believe that he killed a man in Las Vegas in 2021, then dragged his body into the desert. Today, I learned the man killed is closely connected to Big U's family.
In essence, they said, listen, dude, losing a kid is a tragedy that no one should have to deal with. Another tragedy is for a parent to miss that farewell. Sadly, though, no. Unfortunately, they leaned all the way in and began kicking Big U's situation even further into the ground as soon as they hit him with that word. In this instance, the court answered the room with a completely different energy. Additionally, they made it apparent right on that the Bail Reform Act's regulations remain applicable regardless of how sentimental the circumstances may appear. According to them, Big U, whose real name is Eugene Henley, is being charged for his involvement in the incident that resulted in the death of a young man. Big U himself failed to attend the funeral of a young guy who was buried by his parents. The prosecution didn't hold back, pointing out that Big U had known this young man all of his life, had assisted him in pursuing his musical ambitions, and it even covered the cost of the trip that would ultimately be his last moments on Earth. The court was reminded that the individual in question was Rayon Williams, the best friend of his own son, and that the two had gone to Vegas for Rayon to record music when numerous other grave claims were already being made. The prosecutors claimed that regardless of external conditions, the Bail Reform Act continues to advocate for custody when someone is deemed a danger or a flight risk. Additionally, the prosecutor essentially said, come on, bro, to anyone who might be confused by the legalese. For whom are you sympathetic? When someone else's child failed to return home, where was this empathy? It sounded quite cold. However, that is precisely how they presented it. As previously stated, the young man in question is Rayon Williams, who was allegedly taken out in Vegas under circumstances that officials believe are related to Big U.
You see a little badass kid in your neighborhood creating or doing crimes, creating chaos, gang banging, doing everything that harming the community, call the police on their ass. Yeah, good educated said it. Yes, call the police on them. Because if you don't call the police, and if you don't intervene and say, hey, what you doing is wrong, get your little bad, if you're not gonna do all that, what you are saying as a community, it's okay for you to sell dope on that block. It's all right. I'm just gonna walk past you. I ain't gonna say nothing. Oh, you that boy that killed that other little boy down there.
And it wasn't like Ray was some random person. He was close to Big U, lived with him at one point, and was basically part of the family because he and Big U's son were tight like brothers. Now, the streets and the internet have thrown around a bunch of possible motives about what really happened. The version the feds seem to be leaning toward is that Ray recorded a diss track about Big U. Things got tense, and when they were all in the studio together in Vegas, the track got played, the energy shifted, and Big U supposedly snapped. They're claiming that's when Ray Williams was taken out and that his body was abandoned afterward. But that's not all. Investigators say Big U told the studio to wipe all the cameras and later told police he hadn't seen Ray in about 6 months, even though they were literally together that same weekend. Those details are part of what the prosecutors keep bringing up as reasons the court should not give him any special passes. But here's the thing. Even with all that being said, the argument the prosecutor made about Big U supposedly taking someone else's kid so he shouldn't get to go to his own son's funeral only really makes sense if Big U had already been convicted. And that's the point people keep bringing up because right now, he hasn't been officially found guilty of anything in that situation. And that changes the whole dynamic in court. See, if someone was already convicted and sitting in prison for taking another person out, then sure, it would make sense for the court to say, no, you can't step out to attend your own family's funeral. But Big U isn't in that situation right now. He's still fighting his charges. And under the law, he's supposed to be treated as innocent until the court officially says otherwise. That means the things he's being accused of shouldn't automatically block him from getting a chance to say goodbye to his son, at least not until there's an actual guilty verdict stamped on his name. But the situation with Ray Williams isn't the only reason the prosecutors are shutting Big U. One of the biggest factors the court checks before they decide if somebody deserves temporary release is whether that person can actually follow the rules while they locked up. Because if someone can't even follow the basic rules behind bars, how are they supposed to be trusted out here in the real world? And here's the part everyone knows about the feds. They keep a trap car ready at all times.
The police. No, I ain't gonna call the police. It's okay for you to do that. You good, man. Go ahead. Keep killing, keep shooting, stabbing, robbing, beating. But then you gotta understand something. If you're gonna continue to let that child continue that type of behavior in the community, don't be mad when he rob your ass. That's all I'm saying. When he put a gun to your head and your wife's head and your son's head and your daughter's head and slap you in the mouth with that pistol and make you low it like you owe it, don't be mad. Because you sanctioned him to be that way. When he shoots your ass, yeah, when he's shooting at somebody else and he accidentally shoots you or shoots your child or your wife or your cousin or your mother.
They'll sit back quietly, watching everything you do while you're incarcerated. And the moment you ask for something like a temporary release, bam, they pull out a list of every little rule you slipped up on and dropped it on the judge's desk like it's brand new evidence. Anybody who's been inside knows the phone system is the biggest setup of them all. They give you 10 minutes a day, knowing nobody can survive off that. So people end up borrowing phone accounts from other inmates or calling someone who connects them to another relative, which turns into a three-way call, and boom, that's another rule violation. These aren't the kinds of things the prison cracks down on every day. But the second you want a favor from the court, suddenly those little slip-ups become a whole reason to deny you anything. And let's be honest, the feds know that almost everyone inside is going to break those phone rules at some point. It's basically impossible not to. Even the prosecutors admitted it without saying it directly. They know those policies don't make sense, but they'll still use them when it benefits their case. And according to them, Big U has been caught up in those same phone-related issues too. So when they stood in front of the judge, they came with a cold, straight-faced attitude like, Your Honor, we can't trust this man to step out, attend his son's funeral, and come back. He's already been bending rules in here. They didn't care about the emotion, the timing, or the grief. They just laid it out in the harshest way possible. The prosecutors kept pushing, saying Big U has been breaking all kinds of jail rules, and they weren't shy about listing every single thing they claim he did. They say he's been using other inmates' phone accounts to make calls, hopping on three-way connections with people outside, and giving instructions to hide who he really is on the phone so the guards don't catch on. They're acting like every slip he's made is some massive operation, even though everybody inside knows these rules are almost impossible to keep perfect. They even try to twist something simple into a whole dramatic storyline, saying Big U told folks not to greet him with Islamic phrases when calling from someone else's account because it would give away his identity. Since he's known as the big Muslim presence on the floor, the prosecutors turned that into some kind of coded behavior, like he was running a whole underground system.
Your brother, your sister. Don't be mad. Don't be mad. Because you knew he was a killer. You know he's a gunslinger. But you ain't never put none on his ass. You ain't never went out there and intervened, checked him. His mom and his father ain't doing it. You ain't calling the police and telling them, hey man, get this little bad motherfucker out the hood, man. He got a gun on him right now. You ain't doing none of that. So you can't be mad when his bad behavior affects you. You can't be mad about that. No, you can't. So I encourage you to demonstrate. Don't put your life on the line. You a taxpaying citizen. Call the people that you pay to protect you in your community.
They said that in an attempt to give the impression that he was doing something crazy, he was also advising individuals to use encrypted applications for specific calls and business chats. After that, they started talking about things that had nothing to do with his request to leave the house for the burial. It seemed as though they were looking into every aspect of his private life in order to discredit him at the most inconvenient time. They began talking about how Big U allegedly utilized phone minutes for private conversations with ladies, despite the fact that this information had nothing to do with the funeral request or public safety. According to the documentation, he even called the lady he names his girlfriend using the numbers of other prisoners. During these discussions, they discussed how to get around the mail system so she could give him illegal images while he was inside. Additionally, they said that he had violated additional Bureau of Prison standards by concealing those pictures within legal documents and acting a little too flirtatiously over the phone. The entire situation seemed trivial, as if they were including anything they could think of to make him appear careless and sloppy. The FBI then added another layer, claiming that Big U and his girlfriend devised a scheme in which she would enroll in one paralegal course in order to visit him as a legal assistant rather than as a regular guest. They asserted that this was done in order to circumvent the regulations that only permit immediate family or formal legal visits. In essence, he painted it as though he was looking for ways to view her. Indeed, it seemed outrageous, but it was unrelated to the funeral scenario he was genuinely requesting. It simply felt off at this point, as if the prosecutors were delving into topics that had no place in this discussion. Hey, where's the honor code? Even if someone has made mistakes in their personal lives, it is depressing to bring their personal relationships into a legal dispute when they're at their lowest point. The entire situation demonstrated the extent to which the federal government was prepared to stack the deck against Big U, even if it meant disclosing information unrelated to his request. The prosecutors didn't even seem to be acting like prosecutors at this point. They seem to have transformed the courtroom into a private tug of war in which neither side wants to budge. To make Big U appear careless, they were including whatever detail they could find. This wasn't a sentencing, even if it wasn't a significant turning point in the case. It wasn't a definitive decision. It was essentially a plea to temporarily leave the house to go to his son's burial. They continued to arrive as if it were a high-stakes confrontation. They contributed a tremendous amount of energy that was nearly excessive. Bro, are you really unloading your whole playbook over this? Were the thoughts of many who were watching the case. They were disclosing information that had nothing to do with risk, safety, or anything other than attempting to damage his reputation. For what purpose? A request for a brief release in order to bid farewell to his own child. It appeared disorganized. Everyone could also see that they were going far deeper than was necessary. To be honest, I never imagined that I would feel even a tiny bit sorry for Big U. But there are layers to this issue that affect things differently. Imagine asking the court for permission to attend your son's final farewell and then being exposed to your wife due to personal transgressions. That's crazy. The timing alone gives the impression that the federal government was attempting to manipulate the situation, simply because they were able to. But the prosecutors didn't stop with the accusations of cheating. Additionally, they began to claim that Big U was making phone calls to mobilize his co-defendants once more, in an effort to win everyone back. There were rumors circulating that his co-defendants were quickly switching up and folding one by one, and the FBI said Big U was attempting to maintain everyone's allegiance so no one would change their narrative. They claimed to have recordings of Big U discussing sending messages to co-defendants under pretrial supervision, which prohibits them from communicating with one another at all. Additionally, the prosecutor stated that he intended to implement a rule that would prohibit any member of the group from accepting a plea offer unless he did so first. In essence, he wanted everyone confined to one another. No actions unless he gave his okay. Now, if the concept was let's all agree to move as a team and either take a deal together or fight the case together, then perhaps it makes some sense. But it's crazy to tell someone who is facing a lengthy sentence that they can't enter a plea until you do. That would be equivalent to advising someone to jeopardize their entire future in order to agree with your decision. In that scenario, I would hear someone say, "You can't take a deal unless I do." Cut it out, man. You can call me whatever you want, but I'm making my own decisions. Call me a rat, bro, if acting in my own best interest makes me a rat. I'm not giving up my entire life to fit in with someone else's schedule. That's a very different kind of pressure, and no one should be made to do that. Man, stop it. It wasn't even a we all stand together kind of unity. Instead of the group as a whole, it was more like everyone was expected to serve him. And Big U was allegedly pushing it during those phone conversations. They said that he was instructing people that they had to uphold the alleged rule that no one involved in the case could accept a plea offer until he did, as if he had suddenly invented a loyalty test of some sort. He was reminding them, man, it's the big crew. It's the big six. You can't allow those people to expose me and get away with it. They gave the impression that he was attempting to maintain pressure on everyone in order to prevent anyone from breaking formation. No one moved, no one saved themselves until they decided to do so first, and the feds claimed that he repeatedly promoted that idea. The prosecutors continued by claiming that Big U was hiding things behind encrypted chats, using coded communications, communicating with a confidential informant, and transferring large sums of money to attorneys, investigators, and paralegal support. They were trying to demonstrate to the judge that despite being incarcerated, he was managing multiple levels of strategy behind the scenes. After hearing both Big U and the prosecutor's arguments, the judge decided to reject his request. They just stated that they couldn't trust him to leave, go to the burial, and return without any problems because there was too much going on, too many rule infractions, and too many concerns. As soon as the prosecutor finished, it seemed as though the judge had already made up their mind. They also brought up the history, claiming that Big U already had one major strike on his record since Big U was alerted in advance and dipped when the authorities first arrived to arrest everyone involved in the case. He left the previous evening and fled until he took care of his business. He only turned himself in after that. So the judge saw him as someone who had already demonstrated that he might not return if granted freedom, even for a brief period. The judge decided that this history, along with the alleged rule-breaking within the institution, was sufficient to reject the request outright. Since courts consider this when determining whether someone can be trusted outside, even for a few hours, the prosecutor's argument about breaching regulations inside was, to be honest, the most impactful of all. Now let's clarify something. The prosecutor's remaining remarks, particularly the sentimental ones, become disorganized. And yes, even while I believe Big U was 100% responsible for the circumstances that led to Rockin' Williams' death, it's still just my opinion. Until Big U is proven guilty, he is legally innocent, and the court must regard him as such. So the charge that he took someone else's child out can't be used to prevent him from saying farewell to his own son if he is still legally innocent. The system is not meant to operate that way. This back and forth between Big U's team and the prosecution has become one of the most trivial disputes the internet has seen in a long time. To be honest, watching it is tiresome. In the midst is a man who, according to the law, is still innocent until the judge formally declares otherwise. The court continues to press in one direction while the defense continues to push in the other. This implies that he is not currently considered to have taken anyone out. He is a man who is confronted with charges and is doing everything in his power to combat them. But it becomes extremely difficult for any judge to grant someone the benefit of the doubt when they consistently violate jail rules, particularly when it comes to something as important as temporary parole. Additionally, the courts view your behavior while incarcerated as a scorecard when it comes to rights like going outside to bid farewell to your own family. They quickly close that door if they see too many infractions. But circumstances like this often spark conversation, and there has been constant debate on the internet. Some believe that the prosecutors went too far by including private information. Some believe that Big U's violation of the rules made the judge's ruling easy. Tell me what you think of all of this. Do you think the government ought to have given Big U the opportunity to attend his son's farewell? Or do you think the judge's decision to refuse was justified by the rules he broke while incarcerated? I'm interested in hearing your opinion, so please share them. You already know you're locked in with me if you got to this point in the video. Go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who follows all the crazy celebrity cases and news stories. These in-depth dives continue because of your unwavering support. Before you bounce, make sure you watch the next video that appears on your screen. We're dissecting another incident that had the entire internet on edge, so trust me, it's filled with even more insanity. It is about a mother from Chicago whose kid almost got into a perilous situation while traveling home, and the community's response prompted people to arrive at the school and demand explanations. You won't want to miss the unbelievable drama. Click that video, maintain your enthusiasm, and I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you soon for more drama involving celebrities and a closer look at the stories that everyone is talking about.